Yes. Thank you, Reverend Augustine. We have Dr. Vishal Mangalwadi with us. He is the our lead researcher and also the inspiration and leader of this movement. Dr. Vishal, would you like to say a few words of what we stand for, what we are, how this aligns with, what this today's meeting is?
Yeah, I apologize for joining late because the link, it was not taking me to this meeting. It was 2 weeks ago. But I'm so grateful that you are tackling this subject today because this has become a major issue with people such as Rajiv Malhotra and all the people that he's funding. They are condemning Christian missionaries, particularly the ones we are going to consider today, as responsible for breaking India. And the fact is that Hinduism had broken India into 6,000 plus castes, subcastes, and into small kingdoms, weakened India so badly that small bands of invaders could come and subdue India, rule over India. Islam ruled for 700 years, and then the British ruled for almost 190 years, but Portuguese, French, and others. So Hinduism had weakened India, as it is doing so again, but condemning the people, the missionaries who liberated the Dravidian people, South India, and it is not surprising that the South India is progressing so much better compared to the North. So I'm very grateful that this subject is being tackled, and I hope that today's session will stimulate research to some people will come forward and give systematic and scholarly refutation to what the Hindutva movement is saying, instead of giving credit to the people who develop the languages, develop the culture, and identity and self-respect. These people have been condemned. So I see these missionaries, Caldwell and Pope, as the liberators and empowerers of Dravidian identity. But this point has to be explained and argued more systematically and at a scholarly level. So what's happening today is just the beginning. And this is a very important beginning. I'm sorry I'm on my cell phone because the laptop is not connecting the link. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Vishal. We meet every Thursday, every week, every Thursday at 9 p.m. For the last more than 2 years now. We are primarily researching on how the Bible created modern India. So over to you, Reverend Augustine, and Brother Andrew also was there. Andrew is also there, but he has some physical health problems. Yes. So please,
Okay.
yes, please. Both of you attended the protest today at Chennai. So please, Brother Andrew, if you can if you can present and maybe leave. Yes, and Reverend Augustine also. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Prashant. Thanks for the opportunity, brothers and sisters. And it was actually a very well organized protest by MDC, and pastor here had organized it. We also had very prominent people, politicians, including Thirumavalavan, who is an MP. And it went well. A lot of them shared a lot of the great achievements that these two men of God had accomplished over the years and what legacy they have left us. I have prepared a presentation. I'll just quickly walk you through what they have done, the things that they have achieved, and post that, Pastor can summarize and also tell us about the protest and what lies ahead of us. Thank you. I'm unable to share my screen, brother.
Oh, okay, yeah, just a second. Yeah, now you should be able to. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so before I get into the presentation, I'll just give a brief context of what's happening in Tamil Nadu. So there's been a problem with the ruling party and the governor. Governor has been making a lot of different statements against the party and also about some of the pioneers of the party. So in a recent book opening ceremony, book launch ceremony, he said the following remarks. So he said that G. Pope and Robert Caldwell were dropouts, school dropouts recruited by the SPG, and all their works were fake, and they do not have any qualification to be doing such kind of literary work. And he also went on to say that Ayya Vaikundar, a saint who lived in Kerala, and he had his own faith, Ayyavadi, that he lived to protect Sanatana Dharma, and EIC wanted to destroy the Sanatana Dharma. So British government formulated conversion to govern India and to hold on to power. And British India also asked the East India Company to start converting wherever they go so that they can destroy the culture. So those were the statements that he made. And he also said that only missionaries were allowed to run schools and that admissions happened through baptism. But in contrary to this, we know that people like William Wilberforce and the rest of the Clapham movement, they had to lobby, and only after the Charter Act of 1813 that education and evangelism was possible in India. And there was a lot of opposition, but not just by the East India Company, but also the other companies from the Europeans that were there, and a lot of missionaries were arrested, even by the Portuguese company that was there and the French company that was there. And because of such resistance, even William Carey had to get down. He had to come into a Danish company, a Danish colony, and do his work until the charter allowed him to run a school and evangelize. So that's the truth. And yeah, so like I said, and the other thing about the other claim that he kept was that both of them were school dropouts, but actually both these men were very well versed in what they did. So Caldwell was actually a graduate in Glasgow University before before he came to India as a missionary. And for his works in grammar, the Dravidian grammar and the grammar in Tamil, he was awarded a doctorate by the Queen then. And when we talk about Reverend G. Pope, he was also very well versed in what he did, and he went on to become the principal of Bishop Cotton School in Bangalore, which is one of the best schools. And some of the famous alumni from that school include the former CEO of Intel, and also some of the prominent nuclear scientists in India as well. And the other claim that he made was that Ayya Vaikundar was there to protect the Sanatan. But actually, what had happened was this person, the saint Ayya Vaikundar, was actually opposing Sanatana Dharma and also the other disharmony and inequality that it was causing. So he was actually against it. And this statement was actually made by one of Ayya Vaikundar's followers, following the statement that R.N. Ravi made. So this person called Bala Prajapati Adigal, he spoke to the press the day before yesterday, saying that what the governor has said was completely wrong. And the other claim was that only after baptism that they were admitted, children were being admitted to mission schools. But at one point in time, there were only mission schools, and with all the mission schools and even alumni of such mission schools, including L.K. Advani, Smriti Irani, and the others, Arun Jaitley. And with all that, Christians in India are just 2.3%. We are more like salt and not the entire pot of curry. Being salt, just 2.3%, yet an immense impact in education and healthcare. And yeah, so these are the 3 statues that are there till this day in the Marina Beach. So these are statues of Virama Munivar, who was Constantine Beshi, and G.U. Pope and Caldwell. These statues were erected to honor these 3 great men for their contributions in Tamil. And out of 5 statues which are there till this day for the contribution towards Tamil language, 3 of them are actually evangelical Christians. And so here lies the Pope Monument in Canada, the first picture. And in 2010, they released a stamp to honor Caldwell, and that's the statue of Caldwell at his home memorial in Idengudi. Idengudi means shepherd's shrine. So that's there in Tinavali. I visited the place, and next to it is the church that he actually built. And so this is Bishop Cotton College in Bangalore, and that one, the picture on the right is Bob College that is there. So initially it was a school, and later it went on to become a college recently. So we'll first see contributions of G. Pope, and then we'll walk into contributions of Caldwell. So G. Pope worked with the motto that conscience within and God above. And he was born on 24th of April, 1820. He set to sail to Madras under the guidance of SPG. And even before he actually came to Madras, he heard Tamil when he was a 17-year-old boy at a school in Oldham. So a missionary who was on leave was there at the school, and he started speaking in Tamil. And he was drawn towards the language. So he started learning Tamil even before he came into the ship with the Wesleyan mission people there. So his learning started even before he came to India. And after he reached Madras, he developed the language skills through a group of friends and local pundits. And he also learned Sanskrit and Telugu. Then he comes to Sawyerburam at 1843. So Sawyerburam, the name came later. So he was appointed there as a deacon. So he builds an Anglo vernacular school in 1844. So we started with 24 students, then goes on to 101 students, and then later 250 students. And then what he did was he, with the help of another gentleman, he purchases the land surrounding the area. The person who bought the land for him was named Sawyer. And that's why the name Sawyerburam still, that became the name Sawyerburam. And the curriculum that was taught there included arithmetic, geography, history, trigonometry. And apart from this, they also taught music and other skills. They taught scriptures and other things. And apart from this, he also encouraged hygiene, and he was a very strict disciplinarian. And because of the massive heat in this place, he had to dig a well during summer, and he had to sit inside the well, which gave him a very cool environment for him to do his translation work. Then in the year 1850, he left for England, came back in 1851, worked in what is now Tanjavur, in Tanjore. And there he actually started the translation work. And during this time, he started translating. And then he realized at one point that his calling was teaching and translation. And so he resigned his job at the SPG, which is the Society for Propagation of the Gospel. And then what happened was he moved to Ooty, and he started a school there, similar to the model that he had incorporated in Sawyerburam. But since Ooty was very underdeveloped and it was a hill station, he thought he has to abandon that project and move on to Bishop Cotton, where he was given the role of a principal, and the school was in its initial years. So he labored there and made that school one of the top institutions in India. And the Ooty project, the building and all of it, which he had left, later became the Government Arts and Science College in Udagamandalam. And after all of this, and during his time in Bangalore, he actually translated a lot of literary works, which include Tirukural and one more, Tirukural, Naladiyar, and the most famous Tiruvasagam, which he completed in 1900. And during his last days, he was actually involved in this Tamil English lexicon dictionary project, but he couldn't finish it. He died in 1909. But with him and his team, they put together 81,000 words, and the rights was given to CLS, Christian Literature Society. And with another additional 20,000 words, they finally launched the dictionary in 1954. So this was the contribution of G.U. Pope. A short summary of it, not all of it. And moving on to Robert Caldwell. So he was again a Scotsman, and he was a little senior to G.U. Pope. He was born on 1814. And even before he moved to India, he knew a lot of languages: Greek, Latin, Irish, Scottish, and Hebrew. And he had a professor named Sanford. And because of his inspiration, he was drawn towards the comparative grammar and the structure of each language. So he was very much interested in that. And he received his bachelor's in Glasgow University. And then the missions, they sent him again, LMS sent him again for a preparatory course. And then he finally went on his journey towards India. He was shipwrecked. So some of the books say that he was shipwrecked, and some of them even died in that voyage. And then with some difficulty, they finally managed to reach Madras after 4 months of sea journey. And after reaching Madras, he learned the language again from local pandits here. And one influential person in this time of learning was Reverend Bava. His Tamil translation Bible still exists. And he learned the local colloquial Tamil from Reverend Bava. And so he decides to walk all the way to Idayangudi, tracing the route of language. He doesn't want to travel by a bullock cart or anything. He wanted to walk. And on the way, he goes to a number of cities, looks at the different architectures, way of living, interacts with the people there, and he even becomes sick. And at one point, he goes to Udagamand, where he decides to get a horse, but the horse doesn't work out. Sells the horse at Coimbatore, and again decides to walk from Coimbatore to Tirunelveli. And he was, there was some hostility when he reached there. And after he reached, he purchases a lot of land. He plans the township in a very organized manner. So during his time in Glasgow and the industrial training that he took, taught him drawing and making models. So he made clay models, taught the carpenters and artisans how to build Gothic styled buildings. So that's, an example to that is the church that still stands at Udayangudi. And he married a person there in Udayangudi, a woman named Elisa, who was daughter of a merchant. And she knew Tamil as well, because she's been there since an infant. And both of them, they started a girls' boarding school. So Elisa teaches women there to make lace clothing and all of that. And they also, what they do is they also build a hospital during a time of an epidemic. So cholera had hit the place. There was a huge flood. So they built a hospital, start saving people there. And when all of this was happening, at one point after, during his service, there were about 24,000 believers who had converted and became followers of Christ. And also the town became a role model town with intersection streets, wells, properly planned buildings and model houses, which Robert Caldwell had planned. And he also went on excavations in certain places in river beds, and he found that there was a port, a harbor in a place called Korkai, and which had also Roman coins. And he established a few historic things that Roman trade was very prominent in this region, in this part of Tamil Nadu. There were Roman coins. There were also coins during the time of the Pandyan era. And that a lot of words, Tamil words, had actually traveled to Greece. Since he knew Greek, he was able to make that comparison. That words like arisi, rice, became, those words were borrowed by the Greek people, and also words for peacock feathers and all of that. And and during all of this, the collective knowledge that he gathered with the help of his colleagues, and also G.U. Pope and others, Bauer, a good example. He was able to be an influence in a lot of people. And one prominent person that he was able to influence was the person who wrote the Tamil Thai Vazhuthu. And the great work that he did was the comparative study of the Dravidian languages. And with that comparative study, he came to the following conclusions that the language Tamil and the family, the Dravidian languages, which are Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, and Telugu dominantly, are not related to the North Indian languages or the Aryan languages. And before that, there was a different idea that the Tamil was actually derived from Sanskrit. So now he found out and established clearly that Tamil can stay as a language without any Sanskrit words, and it can be an independent language. That was the establishment that he did. And on this introduction to this book, he had used the word Dravidian, and he said its meaning and what it actually meant, and who are the people of the Dravidian place. So this introduction was actually widely spoken about and was discussed, and other people, they popularized this idea, and that resulted in what we call today the Dravidian parties. And it's been 50 years since the Congress or any other parties, big parties, are able to govern Tamil Nadu since then. So, and he also, not just this, he also made different findings with regards to the life and the culture of the Tamil people. What was their occupation, their profession, their techniques of warfare, their weapons, and all of that. So Professor Sundaram Pillai was a contemporary. He was inspired by this word, so he popularized the word Dravida, and he wrote the Tamil Thai Vazhuthu in 1891. And then later, because of the popularity of this term, EVR Periyar decides to use the same word for this political party. And since then, there's been a huge resistance. And what I conclude, or what I think, the reason that the governor and the others begin to criticize the missionary and their contributions is that India being a very diverse country, it's difficult to gather all the votes. You can't bring people together by language. They have different languages. We don't look alike. It's clear that we come from different races and all of that, such diversity. So there has to be some, way of, gathering all the words. So they bring this Sanatana Dharma narrative and also try to say that these guys, these are the villains, these are the antagonists. So these are the people you have to resist and hate. So they push that narrative and try to alienate us and try to form the Hindu majority vote. So that's what they're trying to achieve. But so far, it hasn't worked in Tamil Nadu, with the grace of God. I think that concludes the presentation. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much. Andrew is our publisher and also our curator. He curates and publishes on trias.com. So those who haven't visited the website, please do visit trias.com. And Reverend Augustine, can you give some more material or also some more context on what you did today or yesterday for the protest at the governor, against the governor, and who all participated and how we can all be part of that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to take part and share some of our views with regard to yesterday's demonstration and some preparation which I have made just before us. Yeah. One WhatsApp message is viral among the people of Christians for the past 3 days. I'd like to read it. Hi, Ravi. You made me a talk of the nation and popularized my contribution to Tamil language and Dravidian race among the youth. So this is a message which is being carried out virally in the social media because of our Honorable Governor or Ravi's speech about Robert Caldwell, Bishop Caldwell and G. Pope. Yes, I would like to concentrate more on Robert Caldwell, Bishop Caldwell, because I received his books only today. So, of course, it may also be equated with G.U. Pope. Also, I thank Andrew for having given us a very good picture of both these stalwarts who have pioneered in carrying out the literature with regard to Dravidian languages. So, Right Reverend Robert Caldwell, the Tamil language scholar, Christian evangelist, and champion of the nature church, ever remains in our hearts and memories, since he was a pioneer who gave impetus and spirit to the radicalization of the non-Brahmin movement. His monumental research work on a comparative grammar of the Dravidian or South Indian family of languages had not only opened the eyes of the linguists and philologists, but it had also created political and sociological avenues which had focused towards liberating the human bondages. Also, this book has paved way for many of the historians to analyze the history of any language. So he paved way for that. He opened the gate to analyze the history of any language. So Robert Caldwell was like a person. And Robert Caldwell, his association with the ordinary people of Tirunelveli for about 4 decades had influenced the evangelist missionary to write about the Tirunelveli Shanas and a political and general history of the district of Tirunelveli. And because of his missionary work, he had the opportunities to read the Hindu scriptures diligently and had his eyes and ears open to see and hear what was going on amongst the masses, the people. This had only resulted in present deliberations. And now this speech of mine will be highlighting more on Dravidian languages, Caldwell and his contributions, apprehensions on Christianity and Hinduism by Caldwell, and Tamil Nadu Governor Honorable R.N. Ravi's speech, Dravidian language and today's Indian context, and conclusion. Usually, languages are based on its birth, nature, sound nature, and structural nature, which was being carried out by Caldwell during all of his findings. As we could see, the Dravidian Dravidian languages family, some say it is 24 languages, and as of to Caldwell, he confines to 12. And these languages have indigenous to and spoken principally in South Asia by more than 24 million. 4 of the major literary languages are Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam. This Dravidian word, as a famous Tamil song written by, or Tamil Thai Vazhuthu written by Manonmaniyam scholar, Tekkanamum Adisiranda Dravidanal Tirunadam, one song, and also Tagore, who has written Dravida Uttala Vanga, have sung and identified the very word Dravidam. Dravidam, but even before these two Tamil poets, during 14th century AD, Malayalam literature have represented in Leela Tilakam Dravidam. And also even before this 14th century, historians say during 8th century, a North Indian scholar by name Kumarila Bhattar had represented Andhra Dravida Bhasha. So it is quite clear that even before Caldwell, the very word Dravidam is in existence. And Robert Caldwell have taken this Dravidian language to contradict Sanskrit Aryanism. Caldwell, when we see of his contributions, of course, Caldwell had come to evangelize people that our brother Andrew had told, so I leave it off. So for every missionary, his zeal is to start with the context of where he comes. It was not that much easy to evangelize, rather penetrating through the daily life and work of the people whom they see. And Robert Caldwell, seen such a way, analyzing their very nature and analyzing their very nature of societal activity, Caldwell started social work. For that, it was so happened that he had to study the mother language. As he was studying, as he was analyzing the people, he wanted to study their own language. So he started pondering over the Dravidian language. And as he was pondering over all Dravidian languages, he had come to a conclusion that Tamil had paved way for his involvement and contribution for Dravidian literature and its languages. He strongly insisted Dravidian language exclusively had its own unique identity in comparing with Aryan Sanskritism, which is always being shouldered by Brahmins. As Caldwell, when we see on Caldwell's apprehensions on Christianity and Hinduism, the Brahminic forces worked hand in glove with political aristocrats, had devised Dharma Shastra such as Manudharma, Grihya Sutras, and other Brahmanas in order to subjugate the native Dravidians. And they had only distorted the very basic doctrines of Hindu religion and the message of salvation of Jesus sown in the Indian soil by Apostle Thomas. Adi Sankara, Ramanuja, and Madhava are the great commentators for Prasthana Trayi, that is Upanishads. Brahmana Sutras and Bhagavad Gita, Prasthana Trayi, are the basic source materials for Vedanta. Vedanta is not the end portion of the Vedas, but it is a new ideology which had put an end to the Vedas. Vedic worship is sacrificial worship, which is based on animal sacrifices, whereas the basic doctrine of Vedanta is the fulfillment of sacrifice. And in history, as we know, it is for sure. Jesus is the only person who offered him as a supreme sacrifice for the expiation of the sins of the humanity as a whole. That is why Dr. Robert Caldwell refers Jesus as Sarva Yajneshwara, the Lord of all sacrifices. Bishop Caldwell writes in his book, I feel persuaded that some, at least of the higher elements in Hinduism to which I have referred, must have proceeded from distinctively Christian sources. It is 100% true because the missionary work of Apostle Thomas and his martyrdom had contributed a lion's share towards the development of Tamil Bhakti movement, which culminated in the religious development of Saivism and Vaishnavism that are singularly termed as Hindu religion. And so, when we come into the Dravidian language and Indian context, Tamil language is the mother of all Dravidian family language. Tamil is completely different from all the roots of Sanskrit language. Tamil language has its own competence, power, efficiency to exist without the addition or relation of Sanskrit language. For example, when we see Kannada language, many Sanskrit related word, if we take out Sanskrit, I don't know how this language will be in existence because it is very much associated. For every South Indian languages, Sanskrit is very much incorporated. Even for Telugu, even for Malayalam, even for Tamil, this Sanskritization is being carried out for centuries together. But uniquely, Tamil has its own kind. Like, even if we remove Sanskrit wordings, we have the capability of pronouncing and having many other Tamil vocabularies, which is unique, and that is identified by Bishop Robert Caldwell, and he put the Tamil language at the helm of all languages, and hence he derives Tamil language as the mother of all Dravidian languages. And that's why European intellectuals valued Caldwell's work, especially his book called The Dravidian Language and Its Literature. Caldwell also rejuvenated and stated that Dravidianism is not only linguistic territory, but it has its own land territory and also cultural territory. So this has created a very big threat for the Aryan-backed Sanskritized Brahmins, who always wanted their ideological supremacy in terms of highlighting Sanskrit language and their culture, which resulted for centuries long rivalry between, for centuries together, which reflected in the long rivalry between Aryanism and Dravidism. See, when we see Aryanism, it is backed by the language Sanskrit, which is backed by Brahmins. And Brahmins always uphold the ideology of Hindutva, and Hindutva is nothing but Sanatana Dharma, and which paves way for casteism. And casteism paves way for differentiating people, like creating 4 Varnas. And when you see for Dravidism, it is the Dravidian languages, Tamil, the mother of all Dravidian languages. And it is backed by people of Dravidians. And they revealed democracy. The democracy is backed up by equality. And equality is very much in existence by accepting all living together. So this is the major difference between the Aryanism and Dravidism. And so, during December 20, 2022, the Indian Express publication states like this: the Minister of State for Education, Subhash Sarkar, told Lok Sabha that in 2021-2022, the BJP government had allocated rupees 1,186.15 lakh for Tamil language. But the Central Sanskrit University, CSU, received grants of rupees 19,883.16 lakhs, which is much more spent on Central Institute of Classical Tamil. This is one fine instance or one fine example how this BJP-led government gives or allocates more funds to promote Sanskrit language, rather depriving the classical languages like Tamil. For every nation, existence of language is more important. Even some say that Sanskrit is already a dead language it is not in use. Hence, in order to bring its breath back, this allocation of funds are being carried out. Secondly, for every nation, there should be existence of land. It's already with them. The land, India, is already with the people of BJP, backed by Brahmins. The Brahmins backed by BJP is in power, and that's why they go to every extent, crushing all the sons and daughters of this soil. And thirdly, existence of culture. Since from their regime, from BJP's regime, all the culturistic activity, slogans are being portrayed as Hindutva as our cultural nationalism. They say one nation, one religion, one ration card which is really an alarming signal that only people of Hindus must live in this country hereafter. If they say one nation, why don't they say about one village? We could easily visualize in every village partitioning caste Hindus in one place and untouchables in another place. Even now, they practice very strictly, especially in North India, where BJP are very strong. If they say one nation, one religion, one ration card, why not one village, one cemetery? Even for final rituals, casteisms is strictly practiced. So, if BJP government continues for another term, as CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act, is already imposed, it is the minority Muslims and Christians already being targeted. It is going to be a tough time for us. Hence, this unnecessary speech. BJP always reciprocates things, makes upside down, delivering havoc statements, which we never ever think of. Such is the derogative statement uttered by our Honorable Governor R.N. Ravi. And I would like to emphasize some speech of what our governor has said. A staunch RSS ideologist, Honorable Governor R.N. Ravi, the man sent by RSS group to fulfill its agenda, as usual, he outbreaks. We all know he is a man of controversies, terming Robert Caldwell or Caldwell's contribution, his book, A Comparative Grammar of Dravidian or South Indian Family Languages, terming that book as fake. As he was addressing during first week of March, Robert Caldwell, he was saying as a school dropout who came to India to popularize the evangelism. And R.N. Ravi has said there were huge protests from political leaders participating at a function in Raj Bhavan to release the book's Culture of Bharat as detailed in ancient Tamil literature and Culture of Bharat as detailed in Tamil inscriptions. Honorable Governor said that Caldwell wrote a book on the grammar of Dravidian languages, and that became the intellectual basis for all those people and the Dravidian movement to say that they are separate. People did not question who this man was the saying of our Honorable Governor. Caldwell was a school dropout, but he claimed to be a philologist and a linguist. He was a school dropout and picked up and sent here on a mission to evangelize. Where did he study philology? Where did he study linguistics? But his works became a rallying point for the vested interest of the people who are trying to destroy the identity and culture of the people. That picked up momentum post-British, after independence. In the social, cultural, and intellectual space, they tried to create a false narrative, added our governor. So he also said that Break India project was launched by the British to divide and destroy this country. They knew that they could not replicate their application of colonizing America in India. In India, people may speak different languages and eat different foods, and there are different races. They may be located in different geographical area, yet there is something that binds them together as a family. For a person from any part of India, his dream is to visit Rameswaram once in his lifetime, go to Kashi, go to Badrinath, Dwaraka, and Puri. These institutions have kept the diverse people as one family. Our Governor Ravi's remarks on Caldwell inaccurate, says all the bishops, our CSI diocesan bishop who took part in the demonstrations yesterday, we're all condemning, we're all uttering the very act or the very talk of what our governor has uttered. So, as CSI, it is not myself or it is not the MDC which organized this demonstration, but it is the Church of South India at large, rallying all the 8 or 9 dioceses together yesterday, had a very good Zoom meeting along with the bishops and all the pastors, some of the pastors. And it was so meaningful that we planned to stamp our voice against the outbreak of our governor. More than 5,000 people have gathered, and everyone had their own way of condemning as we were raising slogans against the speech uttered by the governor and what contributions made by our Christians. We are so powerful in carrying out the legacy, what our Bishop Caldwell and what our evangelist G.U. Pope has left behind. So we as church yesterday, along with many of the political leaders and the educationalists, joined together, and especially our MP, Honorable Tol Thirumavalavan, who was the pioneer in taking all these kind of the agitations, especially with related to the minority and especially to Muslims and Christians, whoever makes derogative statements, he is the only one who raises his voice initially. And he has sparked many of the Christians yesterday through his wonderful speech. He had really had given a clear picture on how Robert Caldwell and G.U. Pope were involved in the Renaissance with regard to the context of literature and especially to Dravidian languages. So as I wanted to conclude like this, God, the giver of life, would want every creature to live with its fullness. For God, any religion for that matter, no God diversifies, differentiates humankind in terms of race, color, casteism, or anything. As myself a strong believer of God, of the Bible, includes every nation to worship. As we see in Amos chapter 9:7 in the Old Testament, it reads like this: Have I not brought up Israel from the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Captor, and the Arameans, the Syrians from Kir? So, God wants every nation to be united, but it is the human-made concepts, rituals, practices, differentiates humankind with their own power of selfishness and desires to be fulfilled, which creates space between relationship, which resulted in life in its emptiness. So, May God, who empowered Bishop Caldwell and G.U. Pope, who paved way for positioning the language, especially with regard to Robert Caldwell, the mother language Tamil from all Dravidian languages, even now inspires us to fight for the people and their languages in their struggles towards attaining or towards the journey of liberation. Those who have ears, let them hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Augustine, for this wonderful, wonderful speech and wonderful talk of this, and how you took part in the protest for, our preserving our legacy of, Bishop Dr. Caldwell and Reverend Pope. Much needed in these times. The agenda, as we can clearly see, is to, is their narratives to that the missionaries were there to break India. Rather, it is obvious that they came to bless India, not break India. So, that is what we are also about. Our project, India Research and Bless India, is about studying the past, about how missionaries came to bless India, and that is what we should also be continuing to do. Our some of our scholars have written PhD thesis on the impact of missionaries and Bible translation. So I think Andrew's bookstore, triace.com, has Dr. Babu Varghese book. And while I will add one or two points to this, Bishop Caldwell's journey, Bishop Caldwell actually transformed this small village near Nagargoil. It is between Nagargoil and Tirunelveli, and that village was transformed by Bishop Caldwell. And out of that village, around more than 100 years later, close to 100 years later, emerged the father of rocket propulsion in India. So I will just pull that. So this is the liquid propulsion center. This is the web page of the ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. And out of that emerged Dr. Abraham Muttunayagam, who is actually the pioneer. He is the father of rocket propulsion in India. So, indirectly, Bishop Caldwell also, grandfathered or fathered, many scientific achievements because of his, commitment to education, languages, and how he transformed that small village, Idayangudi, which literally means village of shepherds. So he is still alive. We have hosted him, Dr. Abraham, on this platform more than a year back. So just and also this original research paper dwells on the on the contribution. It directly dwells on the contribution of Bishop Caldwell and how he how he contributed to the renaissance of Dravida. And this is actually written by a Hindu. This is a Hindu scholar. I spoke to him. He was supposed to come to today's meeting. I don't know. I invited him. So he is now retired and living in Trivandrum. He is actually he went to Idayangudi. He spent time in Tirunelveli, and his PhD thesis was on this subject. And I will leave this journal, the link of this journal, in the chat box. And I will invite, and this is what we are also aiming to create a Christian literary renaissance, to research more. Even Hindus have researched on Dr. Caldwell. I mean, of course, Christians have, but we need more researchers. I will invite Dr. Vishal Mangalwadi to uh, tell us more about this this literary renaissance. He is the author of 13, 22 almost. He has authored and co-authored uh, 22 different books. So please, Dr. Vishal, also please please share a few words on the yes. Hello, Dr. Vishal.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. In Genesis 11, all the people living in Babel were descendants of Noah. So they were one people group speaking one language. But they were building an imperial city. Cities become empires, like Rome is a city, Rome becomes an empire, because a city cannot feed itself. It has to take food from the countryside. So it becomes an exploitative force. And Babel or Babylon becomes biblical word for empire. And so an empire wants to dominate others. Empire is in Isaiah 14, Lucifer is a word for Babylon. Lucifer is name for Babylon. So imperialism is diabolical Luciferian idea which seeks to dominate others. So imperialism is a recipe for war because it doesn't respect people's languages, territories, self-governance. So God destroyed the Tower of Babel, the attempt to build an imperial city, confused the languages. So what happened in Acts chapter 2 on the day of Pentecost is the opposite of what happened in Genesis 11. That suggests that language is a matter of spirit. It's a matter of soul. So a nation has a soul in its language. Language is the soul of a nation. It's the foundation of a nation. When a language is developed, nation is developed. To bless all the nations, to disciple all the nation, means to bless their language by people can go only as far as their language would take them. Primitive people, Stone Age people have very simplistic language. A highly developed society has a very complex language which can communicate a lot of information, a lot of ideas, a lot of data. So the missionary movement, beginning with right from the Reformation, so Martin Luther fuses number of German dialects to create German language. Bible translators such as Wycliffe and Tyndale create modern English language. All of the European languages, and that's what when the missionaries driven by the Reformation idea of world missions come to India, they begin to develop Indian languages. And all the languages, including Hindi, is a product of missionary enterprise. Brahmins were not interested in developing Tamil. They were not interested in developing Hindi. And the Muslim scholars were not interested in developing Urdu. Urdu was the dialects, like the Shairi of Khusro, poetry of Khusro and all existed, but it was Henry Martyn who, through translating the New Testament into Urdu, created the modern Urdu language, which is the national language of Pakistan. It was the language of most of North India before Hindi developed. So Hindi came after Urdu. Both of them came out of Hindustani, which was developed by a Scottish surgeon with the East India Company. So The point is that when missions were understood as discipling nations, the missionary movement was interested in developing the languages and ideas. Enriching the people means to enrich their language. Bless their, you are transforming their soul when you are transforming their language or creating their language. So this is what the missionary movement was doing. What the BJP is trying to do, or Hindutva movement is trying to do, is to dominate. But as I put on my post, that there are 77 million people who speak Tamil in the world. There are only 24,000 people who speak Sanskrit. So Sanskrit didn't become the mother tongue of Brahmin children because Brahmin scholars never taught Sanskrit to their own wives. If you don't teach Sanskrit to your wife, to women, Sanskrit doesn't become the language of the Brahmins. It remains monopoly of the elite, Brahmin elite, who want to dominate others. So while Hindutva is trying to dominate some people, missionary movement was emancipating. So Pope and Caldwell are liberators of the Dravidian movement. Now, this philosophy of language, which I've just hinted at from Genesis 11 and Acts 2, the day of Pentecost, this philosophy of language is not understood even by the secularists, because for them, language is a matter of the brain. Chemical reactions happening in the brain are somehow translated into language. The secular world has no philosophy of language or no science of language. But the evangelicalism, as it has come from America during the last 100 years, it has no philosophy of language either, because American evangelicalism became individualistic. So the Great Commission became an attempt to save individuals, individual souls, take souls to heaven. It was not an attempt to bless nations, which was what God had called Abraham. You follow me, I will bless all the nations through you, including India, including Tamil Nadu. I will bless all the peoples through you, all the nations through you. And so transforming nations, discipling nations, this was the heart of the evangelical movement of the time of William Carey and Caldwell and Pope. That has been lost. We've been very badly impacted by American evangelicalism, which sees Great Commission only as an attempt to take individual souls out of hell to heaven. And this kind of research that we are doing, this should be discussed by Bible seminaries, but Bible seminaries are so corrupted by American evangelical thinking that they are not the ones who are leading this kind of a discussion. So I'm very grateful for what you have done today. And I was basically would say that Bhartendu Harishchand, who is the first Indian Hindi prose writer, as children, we were asked to memorize some of his couplets. And one of his couplets says that a nation has to have its mother tongue, a people have to have their mother tongue, and they can only develop if their mother tongue is developed. And that's what Pope and Caldwell have done. But the Hindutva's ideology of dominating, if they really want to champion Sanskrit, they should begin teaching Sanskrit. The Brahmins should begin teaching their Sanskrit to their wives, their children, make it their mother tongue. And instead of saying the kind of things which the governor has said, who has no understanding of why Tamil Nadu is developing compared to North Indian states, why it is progressing. But this has to be taught. So I would really recommend that we put some of the things that have been said today. Perhaps Andrew himself could put these together, and at least let's post it on the internet and talk about it through social media. If we can publish a small book, just history of these 4 Dravidian languages, would be wonderful. But the role that the gospel has played. But we must understand that the understanding of the gospel, understanding of the Great Commission was very different in the 19th century than it is today. And many of our own people will not understand the significance because they don't think in terms of a nation. And one of the big problems which Fuller Seminary and so many of our professors in our seminaries have come with PhDs from Fuller. The one major problem with Fuller was to define nation as ethne in terms of ethnicity. But all the people in Babel in chapter 11 in Genesis was one people, all descendants of Noah. Ethnicity is not the foundation of a nation. Languages, they were divided into different languages because of the different nations because of the confusion of the language. So language is foundational to nation. And a number of different language groups living together under a common law. It is the law that makes India India. We are all governed by one law. So the relationship of language and law is very important. But the point that I'm making in the end is that languages divide us, yes. Ethnicity divides us, yes. But the law unites us into one nation. So 13 tribes of Israel, because Joseph has become 2 tribes, 13 tribes of Israel are one nation because they are governed by one law. They have their own territories, their own provinces, and that's not divisiveness, that's efficiency in administration. But as long as we are bound together by one constitution, and this is why a constitution has to be defended and protected, which is a bigger attack of the Hindutva movement against the unity of the nation, to attack and change the constitution to have power in the hands of 1 or 2 people or 1 or 2 groups. So, but a number of people groups, number of languages in different territories, governing themselves in their own language, this allows for development of the whole nation as long as what makes us a nation is one constitution. So India and Nepal and Bangladesh are different nations, even though we share the geography together. We are different nations because we have different constitutions, different laws. And but today is, of course, not the time to discuss this whole point of law and constitution, which is also under attack from the same mindset which has inspired Governor Ravi to make these statements. But this whole Christian idea of what India is a nation, we can celebrate our diversity, we can celebrate our diverse languages, but what unites us is a humane, just, equitable constitution and law. So once again, thank you very much for this fantastic research. So many things I learned today. but we need to put all of it together systematically as a challenge to the Hindutva movement, which is destructive. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Vishal. There are some comments on the chat box. Jabba Asir has studied in Dr. The Caldwell Higher Secondary School in Tuticorin. Sir, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I am in Caldwell, and it was very interesting that you mentioned about the ISRO station, where one of the pioneer, I've not heard of him, but one of the current directors there is my classmate from Caldwell. So, as you said, if the legacy of the station goes back to Caldwell, it continues to go back because my classmate is one of the directors there. And so anyway, I'm glad to be here. Very interesting topic. So was very interesting. I had one question. That question is, in the criticism of the governor of Caldwell and G.U. Pope, he said that they came to convert people. And I moved from India some time back, so it was kind of a news to me that it is widely acknowledged that conversion is a evil and it's a wrong thing. And it sometimes, to me, it appears that even we Christians have bought into that. If that be the case, my question is, how does the society, Indians, we address the freedom of conscience and freedom of following a religion? So that is my question. Thank you.
Yes, Reverend Augustine, would you like to answer this question, please? The issue regarding conversion.
I couldn't hear properly. With regard to conversion, what is this question? Shall I hear one more time? Sorry.
Yes, sir. No problem. It appears that the whole society of Indian citizens, we have bought into or agreed to the criticism that conversion is evil, bad, and wrong. Is that true? If that is true, then where does a citizen's right to conscience and the right to follow a religion lie in current India? Thank you.
Yeah. It is a very good question. So, for everyone, personally, has every right to follow any religion. This is the freedom what our democracy, what our constitution has given. So, right to worship, right to speak. So, if this is the case, now we are in a very bad situation. Like our conscience is being targeted through ideologies, targeted through the RSS fanaticism, the fundamentalism. So no one is that much of a courage to face these issues, unless, yes, I am okay, and I'm very much convinced with this conversion. He has to come openly and he has to declare openly. But this type of the violent based fanatics related, the motive of BJP, the motive of RSS makes every person think otherwise. Beyond all this, if anyone is convinced in any religion, if anyone is interested in converting to any religion for that matter, he has to be fully convinced, yes, that I am okay, my conscience is good, I am going to follow this. And he has to come and he has to accept the very own identity or the very own ideology of what he is convinced. Only when he is convinced, he can come boldly. Otherwise, it is very in Indian context or for any context for that matter, that does happen really. That's the thing.
Yes, Dr. Vishal, would you like to add a few words on this conversion issue?
Sure. About 75% of Indians are officially classified as backward castes. That is about 21.5% scheduled castes, 7.5% scheduled tribes, and 52% OBCs, other backward castes. So altogether, before this reservation system came, they were all classified as backward classes. Now they are backward castes. Who made them backward? Brahmanism. That's why they're Brahmin. This is why Dr. Ambedkar argued in his 1936 book, Annihilation of Caste, that conversion is the only solution. That if you want to annihilate this caste system, you have to convert, you have to get out. Now, unfortunately, he moved towards Buddhism, and equally unfortunately, Rahul Gandhi, who is championing the backward castes, he has not yet developed sufficient courage, and politically, perhaps it is wise for him not to take a stand on conversion, but he's seeing reservations as the solution rather than conversion as the solution. Conversion is getting out of Brahmanism. Conversion is the revolution that India needs. So we have a little book on it, which is available from Treyas.com. That's a pre-publication edition. It's called Conversion, the Revolution that India Needs. But soon, I hope we will have a properly published version of this book, edited and published version, that those who want to keep the backward castes backward, they are the ones who oppose conversion, because conversion is the biggest threat, as Ambedkar had seen, to the oppressive system that India has had for these thousands of years. So if we want India to develop, we have to champion conversion, that this is, it has, as Brother Augustine, has already been said with the question, what about conscience? The Bhagavad Gita, as you see in the movie Oppenheimer, Bhagavad Gita is an argument that Arjun should not worry about his conscience, and Oppenheimer should not worry about his conscience, even if he's plunging the world into nuclear war. But the conscience is the essential doctrine for freedom and tolerance. This was there in the conscience is part of what it means that my soul belongs to Christ. He's my Lord, He's my King, He's my Savior. My conscience is free from the authority of the church and from the ultimate authority of the state. I have to be true to my conscience because God is going to judge me in the light of my own conscience. So individual freedom comes from the doctrine of conscience, and conscience must be respected because Jesus is the Lord of everyone's conscience. Conscience must be respected. State should have no authority over anyone's conscience. This is very essential part of the biblical political philosophy. I have discussed this issue in, I think, this book Changed Everything, that has a discussion on history of tolerance and freedom. So yes, if we want to keep India as a free society, free nation, then the Bible's idea of conscience has got to be taught very strongly, because if you look into the human brain, you look into human body, there is no physical organ or gland called conscience. Conscience is part of the soul. So you can do all the tests on a body, ultrasound and x-rays and surgery. You will never find anything called conscience. Conscience is an aspect of biblical theology of what a human being is as a soul. And this is what the kingdom of Christ means, that I have accepted Jesus as my King, my Lord, my Savior. That sets me free from the kingship of men, authority of government over me. So conversion is very essential part of biblical view of freedom. And this has to be taught and said. So our many Christian leaders surrender to the prevailing public opinion on this point because they don't understand the history of, they don't understand what is political freedom. British going away or Mughal Empire ending is not freedom. When the Hindutva is not able to dominate my conscience, I'm free to critique the government and I'm free to choose my own beliefs. That is freedom. So, yes, conscience is intimately related to freedom, and it must be fought for and safeguarded. Thank you.
I think, thank you. That answers all our questions. Brother, the brother Prem Barnabas has written that Mahan movie was released on Dr. Caldwell. So that is a interesting piece of information. Mahan movie, right? Mahan. I suppose it's in Tamil. So, well, and the conversion book is available for 20% off at trias.com. Please check the chat link. I have shown it on the screen also. Please buy that also. So I think that concludes our talk today. And thank you all. Thank you, Brother Augustine, and thank you everyone who joined and asked questions. I will invite Brother Jabbar to close us in prayer. Sir.
Yes, sir. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this